Hello and welcome to Inside Music, episode number 193. As always, I'm your host, James Shotwell, and it is great to be with you again. A few words before we dive into this week's episode. You know, with the way the planet is right now, things are changing so quickly that conversations that happened a week ago can feel severely out of date because they don't have all the knowledge that we have now. I mean, if you look back to the beginning of March to where we are now at the beginning of April 2020, things have changed in ways no one really could have seen coming, and I assume that they will continue to change in the weeks ahead. I tell you all of that because this episode of the show was actually recorded back at the end of February, which is roughly 2 weeks before the United States really got serious about fighting the novel coronavirus, before all the tours got canceled, before life as we know it changed. So that's not going to come up in this episode, and maybe you'll be a little bummed about that, or maybe you'll be a little elated. I mean, it's kind of like a little bit of escapism, a time machine to a simpler time, if you will. But I do think that it's a great episode, and I'm excited to share it with you. My guest in this episode is none other than my pal Dennis, the lead singer of the iconic punk band Refused. Now, you've probably heard the album The Shape of Punk to Come, or at least heard people talk about it. I know that when I was growing up, I was just a couple of years too young to hear the record when it first came out, but it was always that album everyone told me to seek out, and for good reason. The Shape of Punk to Come became something of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Refused, though they went away at the beginning of the 2000s, have continuously influenced generation after generation of punk bands that came after them. And when the band came back in the early 2010s, they picked up right where they left off with cutting-edge music that has a very distinct voice and a very distinct purpose, and that's what we're going to talk about in the show today. Dennis and I get into their return, their legacy, and why pushing forward is what the band cares about most. But before we get there, I have to tell you a couple of very quick things. First and foremost, this episode of Inside Music, like all episodes of the show, is brought to you by Holics, the industry standard for music promotion. Now, Holics is used by everyone from Refused to Tool, Slipknot, Blink-182, Nile, Horan, and thousands more to share their latest music with tastemakers. And if you join Holics today, you can use it for 1 month absolutely free. Just visit holics.com. That's HAULIX.com. I also want to encourage you to check out our YouTube channel. It's called Music Biz. That's Music B-I-Z. You can see my face, you can listen to every episode of the show, and you can see a whole bunch of additional content about what's happening in the music industry, how to navigate the music industry, and generally how to stay sane as a musician or as a music professional during these crazy times. So go over to YouTube and search Music Biz. And finally, pick up the Refused album, War Music. It's available everywhere, and it is phenomenal. But right now, there's only a few things I ask of you. 1, that you get comfortable. 2, that you wash your hands if you haven't done so already. 3, that you practice social distancing. And 4, that you put on some headphones or turn up your stereo and enjoy this conversation with my pal Dennis, the frontman of the iconic, amazing, altogether incredible band Refused.
Collector, like I'm not a guy that buys record. I'm a record collector.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I wake up in the morning and then I Google like the record stores and the vegan restaurants, and then that's my day pretty much.
There's more of one of those than the other in this part of the country.
That is of course true.
Yeah, hopefully you found something to eat around here.
Yeah. I mean it is I mean, it's 2020. It's not that bad. I mean, people are aware, but yeah, there are parts of the world where it's a bit trickier than other parts of the world.
Yeah, tricky is a really nice way to say it. Especially here in the Midwest, we super clean in our household, but it is a challenge going on a lot of the time.
Yeah, but it's all right. I toured Europe in the 90s when your dinner was like French fries and white bread and the salads so it's way better than that everywhere.
Thankfully in 22 years it's gotten a little bit better. What I love about the Refused and what I really want to talk to you about is I've been really fascinated this year with any artist that uses their music as a platform. And and maybe we're going to jump way too deep off the top here, but I'm curious about the stresses, or I guess the pressure, once you kind of establish yourself as somebody who is a very outspoken individual in music, and you make that kind of music, and you tour with other bands who kind of support your vision. Is there an added level of stress in a time like now when everything seems so crazy to have that voice, or do you feel more empowered as time goes on?
I don't think there's the level of stress to it. I mean, it's just I think that if we would have been like a young band starting up and having these political ideas in I think the social media landscape that we have and everything, I think a bit stressful because it's quite polarized and it's quite aggressive on social media. But since we've been doing this for so long, it's such a natural part of who we are, of our expression, of the language of me and this band, and it's times like these makes it easy to find fodder for these ideas, and it makes it easy because a lot of people do relate to the stuff that maybe 25 years ago when we came out and said some of these things, people are like, oh, these guys are crazy. But I think today it's like it resonates in a different level, but I don't really find it stressful. I'm just like, it's just such a part of our DNA that it's just something that we'll always do, that we've always done, and I think we just happen to be. It's going to sound weird, but I think we happen to be in a good place in time where the stuff that we talk about resonates with people.
Do you feel that the music you guys are making right now, especially from the new record, is it something that is speaking to an audience and pushing them forward to share a message, or do you find that you're still finding a lot of people who are just now becoming kind of aware of these things, and your music is helping them have a better understanding of it? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
is it more about resonating with an audience you already have, or are you finding more people are coming into the fold now as these topics kind of come to be?
I think it's that's a hard question because I never felt that we did was like a movement, if that makes sense. It wasn't like, all right, we have these ideas and now we're going to bring people into the fold of these ideas. We were always a band. We always wrote music. We always when we talk about our band, we talk much more about music and our music than about the politics of our band, because the politics is just something, just us, That being said, when you write music and when you start writing, you write because it's an expression. It's a creative output that you need to get out there, And that being based in like our background, it becomes very political. And we've had a bunch of people tagged along with us for the past 25 years. We have some people that discovered us the past 10 years or the past 3 years. And I think it's one of those things where they can sort of pick and choose what they think is the excellent part of our band. I think some people are really into the political aspect of it. Some people just like heavy music, and that is fine too, because we are a band. We're not. If we were a political movement and people were like, oh, I just like their fancy outfits, I would be a bit bummed. But we're not. So I mean, that can also be something that people get into. So it's like we just we put it all out there, and then people kind of pick and choose what they want. But it does feel, I have to say, it does feel like that. Coming from a world of punk and hardcore in the 90s where everybody kind of shared the same ideas. It was very I wouldn't say like-minded, but everybody in the room knew, and the rooms were small. Mm-hmm. And then becoming a band that's a much bigger band, kind of, we went outside those rooms. It creates a more diverse crowd. But I would also say that in the last couple of years, you could tell that more normal crowd also, these ideas also resonate with them a lot. Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of people that come to the show, they just want to hear the riffs, They just want to hear the riffs.
They just want to see you scream.
Yeah, they want to see me scream and prance around, and that's great. I mean, it's not up to me. It's not up to me, or it's not up to us to define what people should take away from us. I mean, you wish that they everything, but it doesn't work like that. I mean, you know that too in how you consume culture. Like you find, I really like, this band because of this, and then the band's like, oh, that's just it's a little thing of art. So yeah,
I can't tell you how many times I've done an interview and I've been like, the song on the album that speaks to me is this, and the band is like, that one almost didn't make the cut. It's always like the one where they're like, we needed to put a 10th song on there.
Yeah, we needed more music, 3 more minutes.
Yeah. This is the one that we almost broke up over because only John liked this song.
Yeah.
And now you're just fired. You're just fueling John's desire to play that song live.
But that's the beauty of music, though, that it is a completely subjective feeling. It's a completely subjective experience, and I mean. One person's like shitty song is another person's golden nugget, and it's an awesome thing.
It really is, and there's something to be said for people who like the music who may never even understand your worldview or the things that you share in music. I saw a comedian recently who had a great joke about if the sky was on fire one day, there'd always be that one guy who's like, "No, I've heard about this. It's a good thing." You know what I mean? It's just like you're not going to change them. There's just some people you can't.
Yeah. Which is, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And still you're a part of this great unifier that is music.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Now, how has this specific run gone for you in the States right now? I feel like we are, it's a time, even back in 2016 here in the States when things really started to get a little bit more dicey in the political front and politics, it was still like maybe we shouldn't talk about it. And now it's like, will we ever shut up about it again? It's one of those things where now it's so being in the States right now, how has the tour been for you so far?
Tour has been great so far. It's been fantastic, but we're hitting the Midwest now, so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
This is the dicier part of it.
Yeah. No, but I believe that. I mean, most people that come out to the shows, they know who we are. They know our ideas, and I mean, if they have any inkling of our past or our present, they will know. And as I said, I think with the political landscape being as insane as it is, and with the climate crisis, and with the polarization between people, I think a lot of people, it resonates to a lot of people because they're like, yeah, these are fucked up times, and sometimes you just need to talk about this,
Do you ever get tired of being that guy that when someone comes in to do an interview, you're like, are they going to ask me about the video game, or are we going to talk politics for 15 minutes?
No, it's fine. It's like, I made that choice a long time ago, and I feel that it's a privilege to get to speak about politics, but it's also like a responsibility because I am that person that took that time to figure all this stuff out. And for me, getting into music and getting into these ideas is a hugely important and transformative thing. And then if you can sort of, talk about that. I mean, a lot of bands, they're like, yeah, the new record, we recorded it, and then that's their interview, So I rather talk about stuff that matters, to me, And so no, I don't mind.
Something I've always wanted to ask you because I've never had the chance before. When you guys, I remember before The Refused returned. I started writing about music professionally before then. And it was always the band that people would be like, yeah, but do you understand The Refused? And then you guys came back and it was like, they're back. And to see you. Were you surprised yourself by how much you found you wanted to say once the band was back in full swing? I mean, now we're 2 albums removed from when you initially returned.
Yeah.
Does it, like, if you could go back to, let's say, like 2003 in that hiatus period, would you believe it if you were like, no, you got 2 more albums coming?
No,
in
of course not.
Decade.
No, no, because for I mean, when Refused broke up, I started a new band. I just went on tour. I just kept doing what I always done and kept talking about politics and kept doing my thing. And Refused felt it was a thing of the past, something that was done.
Yeah, chapter had.
Yeah, she's like, chapter closed. I mean, people always talked about it, and you went on tour, and people came up like, I love Refused. I'm like, oh, it's cool, And then one day we're all hanging out and we're all living in the same city, and all of a sudden we're back together. But no, I mean. So 2012, we did the big reunion year. If you would have asked me early 2011, I would have said, no, it's not going to happen. We're not, And even early 2012, when we started playing, I would also say, no, this is it. There's not going to be any more music. Like, because in my mind, like 2012 was the year. Like, we're going to get back together, do a year of shows, and then just go back to the other bands, the other projects, and then. Here we are, 2 albums later. Like, oh wow,
almost a decade later, and you're like, oh, I guess we're doing this.
Yeah, which is fascinating because it's you got to follow the art, you got to follow where the music takes you, and it took us here, and we had an urge to write music, and I think more than anything, in 2012 or after 2012, we had a sense that what we're doing on stage and what we're doing together is important, not only to us but other people, and we have a sense that like we want to continue to play, but we are not a nostalgia act. We're not that type of people that are like, because I think we could have just done Shape of Punk, just kept doing that tour and just switching those songs around, but we're not those type of people. We are the type of people that we're artists, so we always want to move, and then we're like, well, if we're going to continue with Refused, we need to write more music. We need to write new music because that's the only way we could continue playing shows. We did the nostalgia thing, and I mean, you never know. There might be a day where like, let's do the entire Shape of Punk tour, like that thing. But I mean, we are artists. We're always looking ahead. We're rarely looking backwards.
My friends that have come in similar projects, have that band, and then they go away for a while, and they're on tour with their other project, and they have those meetings with other artists even who'll be like, your first band really did it for me, and you're in that project being like, well, now I'm doing this thing now. So now that the Refused is back and you're moving forward, do you feel like this is like, you just had an album out in October, are you still feeling that fuel? Are you hungry to keep writing and recording as the Refused? Did you get something off your chest and now you're waiting for that well to fill back up?
I mean, honestly, it's not really. I mean, I'm always down, but I think it's more up to Chris and David writes most of the music. So I mean, I think it's up to whenever they feel the urge to write more. I think then more Refused music will happen. We always talked about the new trilogy, so I mean that would mean one more record.
Got one more.
Yeah, well, at least one more. I mean, and I would think that we have at least one more, maybe a couple more records in us, but we're not a band that works fast, and we're not a band that, I mean, in the 90s, we were like, Refused was 24/7, 365 days a year.
This is our life.
Yeah, this is our life. But now Refused is something that we do focused in short periods, short bursts. So I don't know. I'm sure there'll be new Refused music in the future. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's 2 years or maybe it's 4 years, from now. Everybody in the band has other projects, other idea, Matthias, our guitar player, writes movie scores. Chris is an opera director. Yeah. I have like 3 other bands, so it's like, but yeah, I'm sure that there will be more music from Refused in the future.
It's funny how, I'm someone who's just only in my 30s, but I've been in music for over a decade now, like full time, and it is weird how like there's that time when something's your full 24/7, like you said, and then you get a little older, and you kind of have to there's this moment where you're like, now it's just something that we do. You don't have to think about it 24/7. That's there. Yeah. When I'm ready to pick it up and play with it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think when you're young, an important part of being young is that you need to dive headfirst into something and be like, this is totally engulfs my life. But as you grow older, like, okay, like it comes and goes, and then you have other bands and other interests. You have family, you have friends. I mean, it's a different dynamic, which I think it makes it the longevity of the band. It makes it easier. Because when you're young, it's also you. I mean, that's why we broke up in the 90s. We were so burnt out from each other. We're like, couldn't stand the sight of each other because we did that for like 6-7 years straight every day. It was like fucking all about Refused. And then now it's nice when you're like, we come home from this tour and then we have like almost 2 months off, and we're like, it's nice.
You get to miss each other.
Yeah, you get to miss each other. You get to miss the energy. You get to miss the shows. So then when we meet and we play, I mean, in the end of May we're playing a bunch of shows. I'm excited. It's gonna be exciting. I mean, this tour like. This is going to be the only U.S. tour of 2020. So fucking make the most of it. Just be excited, So I think that's a good thing. And I think that could make the band go on for a long time. And we're never going to be one of those like Slayer-esque type of bands that like put out a new record, play 300 shows. We're like, yeah, no, we play 60 shows, maybe, you know.
I'm good.
Yeah, we're good. So I love touring though, but I mean, as I said, I have a couple of other bands I can go on tour with if I need.
Well, it feels like you're somebody who's like gracefully aged into being a full-time musician, where you're just like, this is what I do. I do music for a living, and you don't feel that like, if we don't do 300 shows this year, it's going to fall apart and it's going to go away.
No.
I can just keep doing this.
Yeah.
What is the secret? What do you think that is? Like, what does it take to get comfortable with, like, this is just who I am and what I do?
I don't know.
Time?
I mean, yeah, I think time. Yeah. I mean, when it was a real thing when I started playing in Refused, I never thought that was going to last, and I never thought that was going to be my job or my life. Yeah. I just assumed that it was like, this is something I'll do for a couple of years, and then life will move on. Yeah. And then the minute Refused broke up, I had another band, and I actually tried to go to school. Like, I applied. I had this idea. I want to study political theory and become a professor in political theory.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and then my grades was so horrible. They were like, there's no way I'm going into school. So I just started another band, and then one day, I mean, I'm in my 30s. I just woke up one day. I'm like, I guess I'm a musician now. And I mean, even when you're young, because I came from the punk rock side of, like, I got into music kind of through punk, you know, and then so being a musician kind of like, it felt like an ugly thing. It felt like, oh, musicians, that's those guys, you know. But then one day I'm like, I am a musician. You know, this is what I do, and I probably got a couple of good years in me still. So just keep on doing it. I mean, my thought is always like, as long as people call me, as long as people want to work with me or show up to the shows, just keep doing it, you know.
Yeah.
And keep being creative and keep pushing yourself and trying new things and just fucking, you know, live with the music.
Recognize you're in that moment.
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
You're not searching for anything anymore. You're like,
no, I just want to play and just want to create. And
the trick is being right here.
Yeah,
like right
that
now.
it is tricky because it's like, you know, if you're a restless soul, you're always like, what's the next project? But yeah,
where are we tomorrow? Where are you?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm getting better at enjoying the day-to-day of it, because I think that when you're young too, you're always like pushing. You're always pushing, and now it's like, as you said, this is it. This is what we do, and it's pretty awesome. I mean, you can always have that conversation about like, what's the next step? Like, how do we make it to the next level? But I mean, you know, this is what we do. It's pretty awesome.
Unless it's like a giant leap to something crazy, all the levels are pretty much the same at this point. Right?
That is true.
You go a little up, a little down.
Yeah.
But unless you're like, and then we sold out Wembley, it's not.
Yeah, no. Which is also one of the things you learn to accept as you grow older, and if you've done this for a long time. Some records you put out resonate, and then some record don't, and it's just fucking the ebb and flow of things. Even like huge artists has had the ebb and flow. I mean, even fucking Iron Maiden at one point had a different singer, and they played in front of 1,000 people. You know, so it's like we all done the ebbs and flows, and it is a thing of this world. There are very few artists that's been consistently like that big, and especially in our level of being a band. I mean, you know. So it's a cool thing.
Well, man, this has been fun. I like getting to talk to somebody that has some experience and a perspective on things. So I appreciate that.
Cool.
Yeah,
nice. I
think we're right about. You guys are on tour for a little bit longer now.
Yeah, 2 more weeks.
And then you're done with the States for the year. So congratulations on
that.
You'll get out of here before the madness gets too crazy.
Yeah.
And then people can pick up the new album. It's out there right now. I always mess up song titles when I try to reference them in interviews, but the one about Watch the World Burn is my favorite one.
I think it's called I Want to Watch the World Burn.
There we go. I only missed 3 words. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's my favorite track on the record. So
cool. I'll make sure we play it tonight.
Well, there we go. It's probably already on the set list.
No, it wasn't last night. I was surprised. I saw the set list. I'm like, oh, we're not playing it? And everyone's like, no, we're switching it up. But I'm going to switch it back tonight.
All right.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you for that. And if you're in the area, come check them out. And otherwise, if you're in Europe, they'll be there soon.
They'll be there. Cool. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Awesome.